Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and earlier this afternoon, Blizzard pushed a new build to 10.1 PTR, and with that came a slew, basically every single tier bonus, 2-piece and 4-piece for every single class and spec in the game. Now, I will say off the bat that Warlock tier is not currently on PTR. They posted it all in a blue post. I believe Mage, Prop Paladin, Resto Druid, a Brewmaster Monk, I think Demon Hunter, and somebody else. Those are on PTR. So, number one, if you're looking at raid testing this week, which is actually happening in about a day and a half, they sprung that on us as well. Those classes are probably going to be doing a lot more damage than others, but we can indeed speculate, talk about them, the strengths, the weaknesses, the ups and downs, the positives and negatives, and which ones are actually good for Warlock. Now, a bit of a, I guess, I don't know, sneak peek. 2 of the 3 specs are actually really cool and really good, I think. One of them, probably likely not so much, but it depends on interactions with talents and things like that. So we'll discuss all that tonight. As always, we course add-ons, profiles to everything down below. Twitch and Discord links in there for free for you guys. And also, as always, I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Guys, thank you a million times for supporting on Patreon. If you look at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here, as well as down below in the video description below. With that being said, the Warlock 10.1 I guess spreadsheet will indeed be going live on Patreon probably within the next few weeks once raid testing picks up a little bit. As always, the tier 3 Felgar rank or higher gets early access to that. It does come out publicly at some points, but if you like early access, it will be there. New talents, new builds, all that kind of stuff, as well as, you know, an early overview on raid fights and all that. So, with that being said, let's get right into it, starting off with one of the 2 good ones, Affliction. Alrighty, so getting right into Affliction here, the 2-piece. So, you can read it here, it's fine, whatever, read ahead of me, but I will say that every single Warlock specs toolkit, or I guess tier set, is based off of talents, which is a bit interesting. Some classes, I believe Shadow Priest and be a Rogue spec, have similar bonuses, but every single bonus for AF, Demo, and Destro is all built around having a talent selected. Now you can see, for example here, the 2-piece for AF. Violent Taint cooldown reduced by 5 seconds, and Phantom Singularity cooldown reduced by 12 seconds. So PS basically being essentially half a minute, 33 seconds. Violent Taint being 25. Violent Taint and Phantom Singularity damage increased by 60%. So AF has been shifting a bit more towards a dot damage profile of sorts. Rapture is really a large portion of it. Don't get me wrong, we have talents coming that further increase Rapture damage, but Dread, Touch, dot damage, amp, all that, it does indeed play a bit into that. People want to see more dot damage. It's sort of a, I guess, a, you know, concession to that. Not bad either way. Shorter CDs. This will not make it so you can permanently maintain Agony and Mythic Plus. With Violent Taint, I believe you need a 22-second cooldown on BT for that. This would be 25, but so someone's going to ask. The 4-piece, however, this is where it gets interesting. Bonus. Set bonus 4-piece. Enemies damaged by Phantom Singularity gain Infirmity, I believe, for its duration, some kind of debuff, right? And enemies damaged by Violent Taint gain the same thing for 10 seconds, increasing damage taken by 10%. So, Phantom Singularity, baseline duration, 12.4 seconds roughly, right? And Violent Taint says 10 seconds. Now, Violent Taint's duration, 10 seconds. Number one thing here I want to point out, it says Phantom Singularity for its duration. Now, Dark Glare extends dots, whether it's Phantom Singularity or Violent Taint. So I'm curious here if they made this a thing like that on purpose, where they want singularity to more be like your single target effect you use, and just you get maybe like the full Infirmity duration extension. Let's say, for example, it's 12 seconds, right? With PS. If I Dark Glare and extend by another 8 seconds, it becomes essentially 20. So I don't know if PS gives you the chance to have a 20-second duration on Infirmity, whatever it's called. And Violent Taint is baseline 10 seconds regardless. Not sure. Gotta test it out and see where it goes. Could be a typo. I don't know. But the buff, or I guess the debuff, whatever this is, increases damage taken by 10% for enemies that are damaged by Phantom Singularity and enemies that are damaged by Violent Taint. Now keep in mind, Phantom Singularity also pulses. It pulses damage, right? So that target that you're hitting, if there are smaller adds around it and it's pulsing onto them, they also take the 10% increased damage. Violent Taint applies Agony. It's more of like a ground place effect. So if you hit a target with Violent Taint, it's taking more damage. So it's very interesting because this gives even more of a damage amp to Affliction in your Phantom Singularity / Violent Taint / Soul Rot Rapture dump windows. And I have a video coming out probably tomorrow or the day after looking at Affliction talent builds for 10.0.7 and 10.1. The best build for AF currently is looking like playing Malevolent Visionary. 2 points in this and 1 point in Soul Rot, and not going into Vitality and Haunted Soul. It's actually very interesting. So this plays even more into that, just all your dots being up at once. Having that 10% damage increase is pretty spicy, and the reduced cooldown means you just do it more often. Singularity is basically half a minute. You're probably going to hold Dark Lair for, until 210 for the fourth one, right? Vile Taint, probably about the same thing, a bit of holding here and there, but pretty good. I feel like this benefits Singularity more than Vile Taint, but Vile Taint's reach is larger and probably applicable in more settings. We'll see where it goes, because currently VT's better in single target, but that's to be seen. The note here says the 4-step bonus technically applies Infirmity for 2 seconds every time an enemy is damaged by Phantom Singularity. Phantom Singularity deals damage every 2 seconds. So this has the effect of keeping the debuff on targets for the duration. I think it's all really cool, and it helps build around, once again, Affliction's Rapture windows, which you're doing once every half minute roughly, with the cooldown reduction on PS and Vile Taint. And keep in mind, Dread Touch is indeed now 8 seconds as well, so that gives a bit more leverage when it comes to pooling shards for windows while still maintaining Dread Touch. But there's one unique interaction, probably a few. This is one we thought of today on stream. So it sort of revolves around Soul Swap. Now, looking over Soul Swap in settings where there are two or more stacked targets. Now, pulling up, the raid we're currently in, Vault of the Incarnates, fights like that, you have Primal Council, Sonarth at times, Dathia at times, Kurog a good bit, and I figure out ads, Brewkeeper, but, now you're playing this version of AF on ads. So you have 3 to 4 fights where you have that stacked, just cleave scenario for AF, right? Now, here's where it gets interesting. So, once again, when Phantom Singularity pulses and does damage, it applies the 10% damage taken effect to all targets that are hit by Phantom Singularity. So, let's say for simplicity's sake, this target here, this dummy, is stacked on top of this one. I just can't move it, right? We're going to open up like normal here. It's sort of hard to follow, but try and keep up here and watch my MA stacks and watch what you can do with Soul Swap in a setting like this, right? So we're going to open up. We're going to go Haunt, UA, Agony, Corruption, Siphon. Keep in mind, you can only store dots in this effect for a max of 10 seconds. So we're going to do this, put up our Singularity. We're going to Dark Glare. I'm going to Rapture a few times here just to show things, right? So PS is up, all that. There's MA. We're going to Soul Swap now. So UA is gone. However, I can reapply UA to this target if I want and maintain stacks. I can move it here too if I want. But watch this. When I Soul Swap, now, there's PS for 10 more seconds. And if this target is stacked on this target, once again, we still have full MA stacks here as well. If this target is stacked on top of this target, you could almost gain, you basically can gain an extra 10 seconds on Singularity's 10% pulsing infirmity buff or whatever it's called. If you do this weird soul swapping trick, you do have to reapply UA to your main target or move it over here. But the cool thing is that Soul Swap, like I said, Soul Swap stores Unstable Affliction basically in the effect, right? So we'll try it again here. UA is up. I'll Rapture once. So I'll have 1 stack here. 1 or 3 doesn't matter. I'll Soul Swap. So UA is gone. It's stored. Watch me reapply UA to this target. Still maintain MA, apply it here, still maintain MA, and then I can swap it up, and it's back on the target there again too. So as long as you have Unstable Affliction stored inside of Soul Swap in some way, shape, or form, you won't lose your MA stacks. Now, once this target dies or whatever, if you move it back, they will indeed fall. But if you're looking to min-max that 10 extra-ish seconds of PS damage pulsing window, if you have 2 stacked targets, Soul Swap could very easily be a great way to do that, depending where it goes. They might fix this interaction, I'm not sure, but we'll see. TLDR, the AF set, I give it a solid 8 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10. It's not like it's incredibly OP, it's gonna be nerfed, but it's good. It'll make AF feel better. You don't have this weird, half a minute, 49 seconds, minute, 2.5 minute CD windows anymore with Dark Lair and Singularity and Vile Taint. It feels better. I give it a solid 8 to 8.5 out of 10, and we will see in testing on Thursday where Affliction sits damage-wise. All right, so Demonology. I think Demo's bonus is really cool, the strongest out of all 3, but not to a point where it needs to be nerfed or anything. Let's get that out of the way right now, okay? But it's actually really cool. It promotes a lot of interesting synergies. It changes gameplay. It's what a tier bonus should be. And to be fair, AFS is pretty similar too, right? But so 2 set, Demon Bolt damage increased by 15%. Number one, I don't get why there's always a Demon Bolt amp in these bonuses anymore. Whatever. I mean, sure, I'll take it. Doesn't matter. That's mostly the irrelevant part, right? Consuming a demonic core reduces the cooldown of Grimoire Felguard by 1 second. So, like I said with the AF one, this like 2-piece also interacts with a talent that is theoretically a choice talent, not even a hybrid node like Valetaint PS, but it is indeed there. So it's sort of like it's sort of forcing us into talents in a sense, but you're always taking PS Valetaint. You're typically always taking Grimoire Felguard, right? So now we'll look at the math here in a minute. I'll hit a dummy. We'll look at this stuff. This should sync Grimoire Felguard with Reign of Tyranny pretty easily. But if you think this is cool, wait till you read the 4-piece. The 4-piece, Grimoire Felguard deals 40% additional damage. Here's the big part. And empowers your active demons, increasing their damage by 20% while active. There's another ability that empowers demons too. It's Demonic Tyrant, but it's for 15%. And keep in mind, Grimoire Felguard's baseline duration is 17 seconds, plus the 15-second Tyrant extension whenever you're Tyranting, right? So this 4-piece is actually really strong. I don't think it's like too OP in a sense. We'll see where it goes in testing and things. It's not, once again, it's not available for testing this week during, raid testing and stuff, but it's actually really, really cool. It's sort of making Grimoire Felguard your like mini Tyrant, or even like a better-ish sort of Tyrant in a sense, depending how you want to look at it. I would assume this does indeed buff Tyrant. Tyrant says other demons, not including itself, but I would assume this buffs Tyrant, and Tyrant buffs Grimoire, and it's vice versa, right? Now keep in mind, we're probably playing Reign of Tyranny next patch in most settings. This will encourage more Reign of Tyranny play with the syncing with Grimoire, or with Tyrant, right? But this is a really interesting bonus, because a 20% increase to your demons on top of 15%, as long as they stack, which I assume they will, is looking to be really, really strong. Now, everyone's big question the second we saw it was, okay, does this sync Grimoire Felguard with Reign of Tyranny Tyrants being a minute and a half? And I have that answer for you. So, we're playing demo stuff here. Now, keep in mind, you don't actually cast 30 Demon Bolt or Demonic Core procs basically every, minute and a half or whatever, right? But the interesting thing is that in your Tyrant setup, you typically cast your Grimoire Felguard like 10-ish seconds before your Tyrant casts. So that 10-second difference there sort of plays into your favor when syncing with Reign of Tyranny, right? So let's say we're going to open up here like normal. I'll try and count the bolt procs, but I'm getting old. I live in Florida, math, and my mind is wandering. So we're going to open up here in this thing. We're going to Power Siphon like usual. Got 2 stacks. We're going to go in here. All right, so we're going to build the 5. Going to go Grimoire. We're going to Shadow Bolt, cast Dogs. Haven't cast any bolts yet. All right, cast a hand. So 1 bolt. 2 bolts, hand, well, Tyrant here, so 2 bolts so far, right? There's 3rd hand here, strength, 3 bolts. Now watch these CDs here, right? Watch what the CDR would look like theoretically, and watch how they're synced. We've only cast 3 bolts here so far, keep that in mind. But we're going to Power Siphon here, we're going to implode first. We're going to Power Siphon. There's 4 bolts, 5 bolts, here come the procs in second here too. There's basically 6 bolts, 7 bolts, got a dump here, we have more dogs coming in. 8 bolts, 9 bolts. So we're at 10, which is 10 seconds, 11 seconds. This again here, hand again. We're at 11 still, 12, 13, hand. We have dogs coming in a second again here too. There's 14. We're going to siphon. I overlap that. There's 14 and 15. We'll call that 15 right there. Sure, why not? There's 16. Here's 17. Here's 18. I'm holding dogs. I don't even know why. Sure, there you go. Doesn't even matter a whole lot. There's 18. Here's 19. Here's basically 20. There's 20. So you're looking at right now, 20-second CDR. You have 17 on Tyrant and basically 14 on Grimoire. But you can keep going as well. So you can get Grimoire essentially being a shorter cooldown than your Tyrant. Now keep in mind, you're not playing GWD, so you don't start building in the Tyrant with 18-ish seconds remaining on Tyrant's cooldown. You can't reduce the cooldown on Tyrant, but you can keep reducing the cooldown of Grimoire. So what it looks like is you're probably going to have Grimoire off cooldown, with Tyrant having about anywhere from 10 to like 5 to 10 seconds remaining on its cooldown. So you can indeed begin that Tyrant setup, cast your Grimoire, cast your dogs, cast hands, and then when you finish that, go into your Tyrant. So there's really no delay there. Even with bad RNG and bad procs and everything else, factoring in some movement here and there, it should sync up very well, basically every single Tyrant, to give you a full Reign of Tyranny, full Grimoire, Felguard, and Power Tyrant. And this 4-piece is going to be big for Demonology. 20% pet increase to all their damage. Once again, I would assume the Grimoire does indeed buff Tyrant. And once again, Tyrant and Decon is doing a good bit of damage. I didn't even Tyrant again here. It's still at 10%, right? So think of a 20% amp on top of that, but amp that to most all your pets here. This 4-piece looks to be really strong, but honestly, at the same time, it's just really cool. The one thing that makes me wonder a bit is I'm a bit iffy about, you know, talents being worked in the tier sets. But at the same time, you're always playing Phantom Singularity or Vile Taint. You're typically always playing Grimoire for playing the best build, because Grimoire is just good in general at what it does. Destro follows suit with this, and the Destro one is a talent that I'm not that big of a fan of being amplified. So we'll get to that in a second. But TLDR, the Demo one, this is a solid 8.5 out of 10. Could be a 9 out of 10. I don't think it's OP. Well, we'll see where it goes tuning-wise. It's just fun. I'm excited to play it. Everybody loves CDR. All of that. Now, if they do put Wilford's in the clash tree for whatever reason, if they change Warlock, this will once again desync Grimoire and Tyrant, but hey, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Overall, Demo gets an 8.5 or 9 out of 10. Solid B, B+, and yeah, let's get into Destro. Lastly, we have, like I mentioned, Destruction, and I'm really split on Destro's tier bonus. I don't know what to make of it. A lot of it is TBD, to be determined, because we can't really test with it now. It's not in game. And certain interactions could indeed change how strong it is in certain settings, but I just feel like it's not really where it needs to be. So the 2-piece, Channel Demon Fire bolts. So they're referring to the 15 bolts I would assume here, and the 5 you can get from Raging Demon Fire. This is sort of complicated. So once again, you know, Channel Demon Fire bolts, Immolate, and Incinerate have a 20% chance to fire an additional Channel Demon Fire bolt. Yeah. So once again, it's sort of hard to decipher what this means exactly, because the 4-piece works off the 2-piece. I will say that it follows suit with building upon talents for each spec, Grimoire, Felguard, and Vile Taint PS, but I was looking through the Destro tree and said, is there another talent they can build upon here, right? Because, like, you know, you can build upon Grimoire, you can build upon VTPS, but, like, there really aren't any other options in this tree, I don't think, where you can build upon a certain talent that's, like, universally applicable. It basically is Channel Demon Fire. Like, Soulfire probably wouldn't be universally applicable. You couldn't, unless you literally AoE'd them all. And if that was the case, then it would make your 2-piece or 4-piece to AoE'd them all niche and better in AoE than it is in single target. Building upon Conflagration and Shadowburn wouldn't be a good idea, because you don't really Shadowburn in single target unless they made it worthwhile. And Shadowburning in single target probably is a little miserable. There really isn't a whole lot. And if they want to follow suit with that for Warlock, it puts them in a weird spot of having to choose Channel Demon Fire. Now, the 4-piece. After casting 15 Demon Fire bolts. So let's backtrack a bit here. CDF on its own launches 15 bolts. 15 Demon Fire bolts, whatever you want to call it. Raging Demon Fire gives 2 and then 5 at rank 2 out of 2. Right? Now, Immolate and Incinerate have a 20% chance to fire a Channel Demon Fire bolt as well. And after you cast 15 for however you cast them, your next Demon Fire bolt, so I'd assume one of the bolts from this thing, one of the smaller ones, deals 103% spell power Shadow Flame damage to the target and 35 Shadow Flame damage to enemies within 8 yards. So basically it's like a larger Demon Fire bolt that AoEs. I mean, it's nowhere near as exciting as Demonology or Affliction. See, the thing is that Channel Demon Fire hasn't really been good in the first place in a long time. We really only played it during Alpha and Beta in the first few weeks when you were playing like Kata, CDS stuff in dungeons, right? Now, there's a lot of what-ifs here. What if it works with Fire and Brimstone? Because multiple Incinerate casts in Fire and Brimstone, that means you have multiple chances to proc Channel Demon Fire bolts. That means it could be a lot better with a plus. To a similar extent, does it only work upon Immolate application or Immolate periodic damage? Which I assume periodic damage, which means that It does add more value to Cataclysm at certain points in Mythic Plus, because you're going to have 7, 8, 9, 10 Katas rolling at once on a large pull. So Kata and Fire and Brimstone, if those both work together, could actually fuel a pretty spicy build with this 2-piece, 4-piece. But would it be better? Would it be better than Inferno build and Plus in high-end settings? Probably not, because you're pulling points out of certain talents anyways, and Inferno is really good in those heavy sustained settings. And the question also is then, where do you find 3 points for Channel Demon Fire, right? Because while it's not forcing you into Channel Demon Fire, it's saying, hey, Immolate and Incinerate have a chance to launch a minor, like 1 bolt, right? But this thing launches 15 whenever you hit it, and 5 more if you take Raging Demon Fire, right? So if you're trying to get into CDF playing the AoE build here, you can probably pull a point from Power Overwhelming, probably pull a point from Backlash, maybe pull a point from like EP, but you're losing so much value. You're losing Backlash, you're losing EP, you're losing Overwhelming for just CDF, which is damage in general has been very, very underwhelming. So if CDF did more damage in the first place and was worth hitting, then that'd be cool. It's worth hitting PS and Paltane. It's worth hitting Grimoire Felguard. Is it worth hitting CDF now? No, it's not worth hitting it in single target. It's certainly not worth hitting it in AoE. The effect that it brings probably is worthwhile whenever you can proc it, but it's not even a guaranteed proc. It's a 20% chance, which, I mean, you know, 1 in 5, you're looking at basically, I mean, I don't know, like an average of 3 or 4 stacks depending on RNG from a Channel Demon Fire cast, right? And there's even the possibility of CDF individual bolts not working with it, right? There could be an ICD on the stacks. Who knows if you're sitting at 14 stacks, right? You cast a CDF. Let's say you're sitting at 13 stacks and you have to cast a CDF. Does it cap at 15, or can it give you a proc and go past that and accrue more at the same time? Can you hold stacks? It's really hard to dissect Destro's 2-piece, 4-piece, but like it's not incredibly exciting to me, and it just feels very unimpactful. If it does indeed add value to playing CDF and you don't play it, you're not really playing a 2-piece or a 4-piece, because Immolate and Incinerate, unless they have these niche interactions here, really aren't doing much at all. As long as CDF adds value to this 2-piece, 4-piece, which I assume it does, if you don't play CDF and Raging in whatever setting you're in, it is a very, very, very underwhelming 2-piece, 4-piece. It almost feels like the one we had in beta for Destro's 4-piece, where it basically gave you Cry Havoc whenever you cast a spell or something like that, and it was basically only applicable in AoE. It feels very, very niche. It's just sort of bland as well, because Channel Demon Fire is like, it's cool to hit, but when the damage is not there, it's not there. And if you're looking at a fight, if you're looking at mass AoE and plus with Infernal and with your Infernal down and playing Inferno and casting a million Rain of Fires, you're not going to take time off to cast Channel Demon Fire in the middle of that. You're not going to, unless the ability is way overtuned. And if on a fight like, I don't know, just raid fights in general, like Havoc cleave based fights, spread 2-target cleave fights, it feels terrible casting CDF hitting 1 target when you can be launching Chaos Bolts with Havoc instead. It's just like, it doesn't feel very good. If they want to, I mean, I get they're trying to maintain these talents matter kind of feel for Warlock with each spec, but I feel like with Destro only really having CDF is probably a realistic option. It's probably worth breaking the mold here when it comes to, you know, Grimoire Felguard, PS Vile Taint, and then CDF all being talents, and maybe looking at possibly redoing it. We have to see. I sort of want to see where it goes when it comes to gameplay, because once again, even if Fire and Brimstone and Kata work with it, I don't think FMB Kata build is going to be better than playing Inferno in Mythic Plus. And it might even be okay in single target. The thing is like, Destro is known as a 2-target spec, a heavy AoE spec, a cleave spec, and like, if your 2-piece and 4-piece really only work in single target or stat cleave, and they're not even good in spread cleave or applicable at all, it's typically not a very good 2-piece, 4-piece, just how Destro's was in 10.0 and beta. So we'll see where it goes. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I don't really know of a world. I don't think I'm missing anything here interaction wise, but the wording is sort of cryptic too. I have to see where it goes. Have to test it out. Once again, they are not available on PTR for testing right now. Whenever they are, obviously we're going to do it. And yeah, so I'm going to give Destro's bonus probably I don't want to be excessive. I want to be open to, you know, things being different. I'm going to give it like a 4 out of 10, and a 4 out of 10 with the asterisk next to it maybe being a little better than it seems, because if things all aligned, the stars all aligned to things, and they buff CDF baseline, and whenever we get Warlock changes on PTR, maybe it's okay, but I feel like the stars have to align for this to be good. Demo, you just rip it, man. It's good. Aff, just good. Destro is like very niche and just honestly pretty unimpactful overall. So that should wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully the video answered the questions you might have had about the new, just unveiled today, 10.1 Warlock tier bonuses and all that. Like I said, I think Aff and Demo are both pretty solid. I gave Aff, I think, an 8 to 8.5 out of 10, and Demo an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. I think they're both pretty cool. Destruction, on the other hand, I gave a 4 out of 10, which it's just, I think it's pretty niche, sort of misses the mark. You don't really play CDF in many settings, and if CDF empowers the ability a crazy amount, it's pushing you into a very niche talent. It's not really very good in many settings, and if it doesn't, it's just pretty bad across the board. We'll see where it goes, but it feels like if you're not playing CDF, assuming that it does indeed empower the tier bonus a lot, as Destro, you're basically playing with a very, very, very minuscule 2-piece, 4-piece, and it probably isn't even worth giving your Warlock tier if all you play is Destro. Then again, hey, play Demo and Aff and you're fine because they're really good. So we'll see where it all goes. But if you guys have any questions, put them down below in the comment section below. I'll be sure to get back to you. Any week warriors, add-ons, or profiles, again, like always, links to Twitch and Discord down below, where they're all for free for you guys. And as always, again, I want to give one huge shout out to my patrons who are in the video. Guys, thank you a million times for supporting Patreon. As always, I really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, links here as well as down below in the video description. And with there being a new PTR patch, once again, the 10.1 Warlock spreadsheet, early access to that will indeed be up probably within a couple weeks or so for the tier 3 Felguard rank or higher on my Patreon. It does indeed go public at some point as well. But for those that want early access in PTR, development, all that stuff, that is an option for you. Thank you again, guys, for all the support. Once again, I really appreciate it. If you remove Destro from lock tier, it looks insane. Both, like, being able to sync Grimoire Felguard with Tyrant playing Reign of Tyranny is going to feel really, really good. If they put GWD in the clash tree, then that's a problem. It's not a problem, but it'll be a funny conundrum in itself. We finally got a CDR on Grimoire Felguard, and then we got more on Tyrant, but we'll see where that goes. Once again, having that burst emphasis with Affliction in its damage windows feels really good too. And Destro, I don't know. But the more you think about it, one of the complaints that Warlock sort of had was that we don't really have impactful, like we don't really have cooldowns. We have some, but like you have like Singularity at times, like Dark Lord doesn't feel very good. But now like your Singularity is shorter, it's more often. It increases all your damage dealt, and they also buff Dark Lair. So like Warlock has CDs now. You have them more often in Singularity, more often in Soul Rot. For a Demo, Grimoire Felguard, another large CD. You can stack with your Tyrant to have that really strong damage profile every minute and a half. And Destro, I mean, yeah, okay, CDF's a bit awkward. If they buff CDF considerably, it sort of can feel that way, but we'll see where it goes. I don't know. Raid testing is in about a day and a half. I'm excited for that. It's coming very quickly, but we will know a bit as to where Warlock sits when that begins. Once again, tier gear is not available for Warlock on PTR currently. Whenever it is, hopefully next week we'll test it all out and go from there. But yeah, I will have footage up of raid testing and all that soon. And hopefully tomorrow night before then, we'll have videos up on the new Affliction builds that are coming out in 0.7. The next few weeks and months are going to be very, very busy, guys. I hope you're ready. And yeah, because I am. So all that being said, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. Helps out a ton. I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.